When Sarah Douglas had the heartbreaking task of asking her dying mother where to dispose of her ashes, she was met with the calm reply, "You'll figure it out." It was the starting point of an incredible journey which saw Sarah uncover the secret true love of her mom's life before reuniting them on the peak of a Himalayan mountain. Sarah spent 2 decades on a personal voyage of discovery, learning the truth about the dashing British Army major who cruelly died mountain climbing weeks before he was due to marry Sarah's mum Jenny. Inspired by the tragic love story, Sarah vowed to climb the 5,500 meters, near to the summit of Mount Nuptse, which sits within 2 miles of Everest. Jerry Owens died while climbing the snow-covered peak in May 1975 and his body was never recovered. Image, collect unknown. After a 5-day trek, she buried Inverness primary school teacher Jenny's ashes at a memorial cairn to honor Major Jerry Owens. He died while climbing the snow-covered peak in May 1975 and his body was never recovered. Jenny, who had been out shopping for her wedding shoes when she heard of his death, had been due to marry the soldier just 6 weeks later. Sarah, 45, of Ardersier, near Inverness, said, "Before my mum died, I asked her what she wanted me to do with her ashes and she told me I would figure it out. I held on to them for years but she was right, I'd figure it out. I had only been a little girl, 2.5 years old, when Jerry died in 1975 and it wasn't until very recently that a lot of things fell into place and I realized exactly how much Jerry had continued to mean to her." Reuniting them wasn't easy. In fact, there were many moments even on the mountain when I thought it might not happen, but I had this real sense that it was the right thing to do. Jenny was a single mom when she met Jerry and was thrilled when they set a wedding date for June 1975. Sarah said, "My mum was absolutely everything to me. She met Jerry while he had been stationed at Fort George in Inverness and was out shopping for wedding shoes on the day he was killed." Jerry and Jenny's wedding invitation. Image, collect unknown. All the preparations for the wedding had been done. My grandparents' house was even filled with champagne to toast the happy couple at the ceremony. My mum was just waiting for Jerry to come back from a training exercise on Nuptse, where he was helping prepare an army expedition team for a trip to Everest. But Jerry never made it to Everest and he never made it up the aisle. Former colleagues of the 36-year-old have told Sarah he was one of the most highly regarded mountaineering experts in the British Army. In 1970, he was part of a 2-man team who became just the 2nd climbing team in the world, and 1st British team, to summit Annapurna in the Himalayas. No one saw Jerry and his climbing partner plunge to their deaths down the icy mountainside. Growing up, Sarah Douglas knew it was best not to ask her heartbroken mum Jenny about Jerry. Image, Peter Jolly and Northpix. Their army team initially found their bodies roped together at the bottom of a steep crevice but an avalanche buried them before they could be recovered. Sarah said, "My mum was heartbroken by Jerry's death. She didn't speak to anyone for months, not even me. Growing up, I knew not to ask her about Jerry. It was just too painful for her." But Sarah's mum slowly started to rebuild her life. The primary school teacher instilled in Sarah a love of nature and walking, regularly heading out into the countryside with her young daughter. As the years progressed, she found happiness with a new partner, Frank. But tragedy struck again when Jenny was diagnosed with breast cancer aged 39. Sarah, whose birth father was never part of her life, said, "My mum was initially diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 19. She had treatment, a lumpectomy and radiotherapy, and was fine for the next few years, but then it came back as secondary breast cancer, which had spread to her brain." Sarah's mum decided against further treatment and died just over a year later. She said, "My mum and Frank married a few months before her death but her feelings for Frank didn't lessen her love for Jerry. It wasn't until many years after my mum's death that I started to piece together exactly how much Jerry had meant to her. She loved walking and birds, and those were his passions." She kept his journals and, even just before she died, she asked me to bring a particular bangle into the hospital for her, and it was one Jerry had given her. Jenny was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was 39 and when Sarah was 19. Image, collect unknown. Sarah, who has bagged all of Scotland's Munros, suffered her own climbing accident in 2012, which gave her time to start planning her trip to Nepal. She said, "I broke my ankle as I climbed what was supposed to be my 150th Munro. To celebrate the occasion, I had worn a sparkly sequin mini dress under my climbing gear, which I then had to explain to the hospital staff after being airlifted off the mountain. But during my recuperation, I had time to read Jerry's journals, and the idea about what to do with Mum's ashes finally came to me." Artist Sarah, who is mum to sons Marcus, 19, and Leon, 17, carried out the emotional trek in May 2014 accompanied by her partner, Paul. Last year, she was devastated to be diagnosed with the same type of breast cancer that had killed her mum at the same age. She said, "Telling my boys was really hard as I knew firsthand what a huge bomb I was dropping on them." Sarah had surgery followed by chemotherapy and radiotherapy. But she says the memory of her achievement and her love of hill walking helped keep her strong. She said, "I'm in no doubt the strength that gave me helped 3 years later when I was diagnosed with breast cancer." Sarah Douglas with her son, Marcus. Image, Peter Jolly NORTHPIX. 18 months on from her diagnosis, she feels fit and well and is looking forward to appearing as a model in this year's Breast Cancer Care Scotland fashion show on October 25 at the Hilton Glasgow Hotel. Sarah regularly used the charity's support and information websites during her treatment. She said, "For me, being diagnosed with cancer was just another mountain I had to climb, and, on good days, that's what I did. Hill walking helps restore my spirit, so, during the 18 weeks of my chemotherapy, I continued to head to the hills, climbing Munros Corbetts, and I even kissed off the end of my chemo by walking the length of the Great Glen Way. Now I'm looking forward to swapping my walking gear for some glamorous outfits on the catwalk." Funds raised at the fashion show will help Breast Cancer Care provide support and information to people affected by the disease. For tickets, call 0345 077 1892 or email thesioscotland@breastcancercare.org.uk.